can see the screen. Yeah, so fibers as in raw materials, and let's say every single fiber we commonly use today has an impact on the environment, whether it's cotton, wool, synthetics, or other fibers. And I think every time we speak about sustainability, most companies and people talk about how to reduce the impact. But that's the wrong way to think about it. We should be thinking, how can we actually use materials which heal and regenerate the planet?
Jereon, before you go on, can you put on to full screen for your presentation, because you've only got half of your picture there. You should be able to go into a full screen somewhere.
Okay, then I have to change the slide to a PowerPoint presentation, I guess, because this is a PDF.
It will work if it's too difficult, but you're getting a bit of a cutoff. That should be okay.
Okay, sorry about
it's okay.
this.
That's fine.
Let me see you. Okay.
Just carry on. It just slide it down.
Yeah, and so coming back to my presentation, so we're looking at fibers from a different perspective. We would like to use fibers which heal and regenerate the planet, and this is how Flocus is now working with Kapok. And Kapok has been historically an important fiber for Indonesia, which has been working with Kapok for over 100 years. And this is how we also start our story actually in Indonesia with the kapok tree and the non-food crop which the tree provides. It is actually very interesting because to most of you, you all know kapok, but let's say other countries and most textile people have never heard about kapok fibers, and let alone that it comes from a tree. And I also don't have to explain too much to you guys that, yeah, kapok trees grow natural. They grow in certain plantations which have been set up over 100 years ago. And they provide, like an apple does, a fruit crop. However, this one you mostly say can't eat. And within that crop, you have then fibers. And these fibers come from within the pod, so there is no process to make the fiber. We just harvest the pod from the tree. And as you can see, hopefully on this picture, for picture number 4, when the pod is dried out, that's the part when we harvest it. And we send it to the sorting facility, crack it open and filter out the materials, and then use the fiber for other products. But I think to start, and that's for every fiber and its impact important, is how does it grow and what is necessary to get the fiber ready for processing. So as we talk about kapok, we talk about trees, and as any tree does, a tree stores carbon. However, a kapok tree in general is much bigger than an average tree, and that also means that this tree stores a lot of carbon. Besides, this tree does not need agricultural land. It can grow actually on very poor soil. It grows on hill slopes, avoiding the use of agricultural land. And with that, it improves the soil quality. It can avoid erosion. It can also prevent deforestation. And what is interesting also, if we go to farming and we go to scaling of the tree, it can be done in a very regenerative way. Because these trees you can plant in 8x8 or 10x10, and then you have a lot of sunlight going through between the trees, and farmers can plant other crops in between. And that means you have a multi-crop farming model, which will keep the soil more healthy than monocropping. So kapok does always grow biodiverse, whether you plant it or whether it's growing in the wild. this tree gives a pod, and if we get the fiber and we look at the details, then we get by default an organic fiber. This means that, yes, it's free of pesticides. We don't use fertilizers. There is no need for irrigation water because these trees, they just grow with sun, rain, and groundwater, and that's something what nature provides. In growing a tree, you don't need much energy. Maybe you have to cut a branch here and there, but there is no active involvement from a farmer to maintain the trees with using energy. The only part where there is an energy use is actually from transporting the pod from the tree to our sorting facility, and the sorting facility will crack open the pods by machines, and then it will filter out the material. So also on obtaining the fiber from the pod, there is no other impact than some energy from the machines. No chemicals, no water, no other stuff. So what we as Flocus are doing are actually really focusing on cracking down the problems which this relatively outdated supply chain currently has. And that means that we are working on an automated sorting facility, which will then also run on a CSR level to be able to supply these materials in volume to interested companies which are worldwide and some local in Indonesia. And of course, what is interesting is if we look at fibers and we look at the products which are using the fibers, it's all about what does this fiber do? And again, I don't have to explain most of you that how soft and silky and cotton-like Kapok fibers touch. So that is already one, and maybe the most important, that the comfort to skin is extremely nice. The fiber itself is quite different to other natural fibers, and one of the main topics is that the fiber has a natural wax and it makes it hydrophobic. Then that wax also causes an antibacterial property, and it is a hollow fiber, and the hollow cavity is extreme compared to other hollow fibers. And this helps for thermoregulation, thermal conductivity, and that is really on a level like down, and it's a fiber which actually does not freeze, not even at minus 262 degrees Celsius. Then due to the hollow cavity, the fiber is also extremely light. It's 5 times lighter than cotton, and in such a way, it does reduce the weight of the final product. Further than that, there are also industrial applications like absorbing oil and other topics, but in fashion, on your screen is the more important properties. So what do we do as Flocus? We have been specialized in how to work with Flocus. We have patents on how to work with the fiber, how to spin. But I think the key development is what we've done in Indonesia on setting up this automated sorting facility, which will reshape and innovate the supply chain from farm to brand. So we provide fibers, we produce yarn blends with Kapok because the fiber is extremely short and light. And in that case, we do have to blend on a yarn level. From yarn, you go to fabrics, and from fiber, you can go directly into non-wovens, which can be used in blankets or jackets or other type of non-woven applications. What we do in the supply chain and is actually creating supply chain solutions, because for a new fiber, which is relatively unknown, it is not easy to tap into a supply chain. And also because some of the properties and way to handle this fiber, we are working atypically to most other companies, vertical in the supply chain. So we do offer brands and retailer solutions from fiber level We work with them on creating yarn blends, and they can choose whether to buy our yarn, or we can also create fabrics for them. So we affiliate in that processing supply chain with partner manufacturers on spinning, on fabric making, and also on the nonwovens. So yes, we are very active with the supply chain, and therefore we provide supply chain solutions from farm to textile materials based on Kapok. As with many fibers, it is flexible to use, but as far as Kapok, it's a very versatile fiber. It has, as explained before, some synthetic properties, and it also has very strong functional properties. So very good for the Kapok in its tree is that we can apply it in fashion, which is the topic of today, but it definitely is also interesting for other markets outside of fashion, which could be the hygiene, the automotive, construction, composites, furniture, and several other markets. So I guess the surprise to all of you may be, and this is something what I'm quite proud of, is that we have been able to go outside of the common thought that Kapok can only be used as a pillow stuffer, mattress stuffer. Now we are really pushing the boundary with Kapok into several textile applications, which then can be used by the fashion brands or other markets. And now, over the last years, we've been rewarded in many different, let's say, industries, whether it's sportswear, fashion, or other sustainable approach platforms. Because yes, this fiber from this tree provides a carbon offset. And when we create a higher demand for this fiber, we support, let's say, at least 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. And besides, with creating a demand, we also push more or less the market to plant more trees. And this is, I think, the ideal combination when you talk about a fiber which comes from a tree, has hardly any impact, and actually provides you a carbon offset, because the tree provides you the fruit and we don't have to cut the tree. We just leave the tree as it is to do what every tree is doing, storing carbon and improving the impact on the environment. And then when we create a higher demand for this fiber, we also end up planting more trees. And this is exactly what we are doing. And we started a foundation which is currently setting up nurseries. And from those nurseries, we are going to give planting services to farmers. And we start with that in Indonesia, of course, how to grow the trees, but also to ensure that the farmers have a profitable and competitive, let's say, income from planting Kapok with other crops on land. So we currently are at a profitable level where it can compete against wood, which I think is another product from Indonesia, which is very strong. But we hope to give a very interesting alternative to Indonesia, to where we cooperate with the farmers and the government to really scale up the availability of the tree. Currently, there is enough, but by far not enough to supply the world hunger for for sustainable raw materials. So I'm very proud that we actually work with brands. We use the textile products with Kapok, and they are also supporting us in scaling up and planting of the trees. And yeah, our foundation starts with that from a nursery perspective. Yeah, if you have any further questions, we will get to it with Alistair after all the speeches. But meanwhile, if you're interested, please do visit our website for more information. And otherwise, please send us an email. Thank you, everyone. And Alistair, back to you.